Let's get rocking, everybody. I visited with the staff this morning. We were talking about September football, and really my message for them was how we play, the play style and the attitude is as important as what we call. It really is as we're getting rolling. So I'm watching our how. I want to feel that identity, things like the ball and our turnover margin, our tackling, our breaking tackles, the running, the hitting, the physicality, and then us in the winning time moments. That's all that makes up our how. So when you continue to need to build that and grow that, all those things, are part of our identity, and those are things that I want to see grow and build as we're going, and that factors in all sorts of things, discipline with penalties and all of that. So it's our how, and we're going to keep digging in that as hard as we can. And I'm pumped to get rocking with you guys. So let's get it rolling.
Hey, Dan, as a defensive guy, when you look at your offense, what makes it hard to defend in the run game?
I would say two things. There's the movements, that's one, and then the runs and the play passes that can look alike, a pull with a pass, a pull, on the ones that look the same, because when you really start running, then you better get downhill as a backer or a safety to get into the right fit, and then here comes a play pass that rips with it. That's, to me, where the challenges are, and then the motions that go with it.
And I say, do you see that causing a lot of confusion for a defense?
Generally, that's the hardest part, and where some of the big plays live in the passing game aren't on all drop-back plays. So many of them are on a play pass that allowed a defensive player to step up, and you throw one behind them. And so those are ones that you see sometimes from like a Noah Brown, where it's a hard run action, and that's part of what, some of the things that he does so, significantly for us down the field throws.
You guys listed Jayden as on the injury report with a wrist, but he was full in the estimation. Just what's the level of concern there?
We have no level, just trying to, keep it policies and transparency as clear as we can, but zero concerns.
And then John Bates, I feel like I've asked a lot of people this, but what makes him such a good blocker, and where have you seen him develop as a pass catcher too? Yeah,
and so we're talking about kind of the run and play pass. I think that's where John has developed up at the top of the routes. He's always been an aggressive blocker. He's got great size, Nicky, but he can lower his pad. So for as tall as he is, he can still get down low and get under people. So he's got great strength in that way. And then in the passing game on early downs is where John can be that factor. He's got good hands. He's got good range to go up because he is so long. If a defender's guarding you on one side, you can throw away from him. And so, he is commander through and through. Like he is, absolutely one of your favorite players to coach too. He brings it.
Hi, Coach. Is there a benefit to having this Thursday game in this short week in week 2 as opposed to later in the season?
Yeah, I think that's a fair question, and there is, because you have a little bit more time on the preparation side for both the coaching staffs. So I don't know if there's an advantage, but there is more time. You can think a little more clearly, during that early week in between, the opening game and this game. But it's the same for both.
Hey, Coach, could you talk a little bit about the Packers defense and the offensive line of the Commanders facing that defense?
Sure. The thing that, I was super impressed with was the speed of their defense, and when you watch through the drafts, okay, linebacker, yes, then adding safeties, Gary on the outside, added Micah to that. So it was the speed, Don, of kind of, the D-line, the linebackers through the safeties, like that battery inside. And when you have that kind of speed on defense, that also can lead into some takeaways. The ball pops up, boom, you feel the guys go. So that type of speed is certainly something that has impressed me so far with them.
And I think I have a in reverse question that Donna just had. So
okay.
The Green Bay Packers offensive line.
Yes.
When you took a look, I know it's just, week 2, but what have you seen in that line?
Yeah. For a while, I really think Matt and his staff, they play excellent as a unit. Now, they added through free agency and the draft, et cetera, but most good offensive lines, you can see the continuity, you can see them playing together, and I definitely feel that, from Green Bay. They have a system and a style and a way that they play, and they really stay true to that. So the proof is, in the results of what they've done in the run game, and then when you added Jacobs into it, this is a tough guy. And he's able to make big plays, able to score touchdowns down the red zone. So in their run game, yeah, that's for sure one of the key points in this game.
Speaking of the injury report, Tress Way, what's your sense of his status this week?
Yeah, I'd say similar to Jayden. I'm feeling good. He's improving, and he'll get some kicks in tomorrow, and then get him ready to play.
And the tackling seemed to be really good in this first game. You guys don't get to practice it in the traditional way throughout the summer. Obviously, this is what these guys do. But on the other hand, I guess, how do you make sure that these guys are going to be ready to do this thing that they don't actually get to do most of the summer leading up to this?
Yeah, you're right, Ben, and that's why, like the September football, I wanted to make sure the how was right. The physicality, the running, the hitting. So you'll have to drill it as best you can. Not all tackles are exactly the same. There's ones that we call profile, where I'm squared up on you, you're squared up on me. In the padded practices, we do thud those up. I see you, you see me. We try to, get some contact on that. Then there's one that's called a two-man tackle. You have a leverage, I have a leverage, so we're trying to sprint to that spot. And so much of tackling is about leverage. There's somebody on another side, so you don't want to be straight down the middle where a guy can have a two-way go. So owning your leverage, running your feet on contact. You can drill some of that, but there's no drill, that would simulate a 220-pound back, running his feet on contact. And so that's harder, and you do need the live reps at that. And so that's why I want the play style, the attitude to continue to build. And I sense that is what you want to have. You don't want okay, we're plateauing. You want it to keep improving. But it's a challenge.
You would know Micah better than most. Opposing offenses kind of geared towards him. You saw it in Dallas that didn't always work. How do you combat a guy? Is it inevitable that he's going to make those plays in that backfield?
Are you asking what would I do if I was
Sure.
coaching him? Yeah, I'd sit him this week on a short week.
How would you? I mean, is it inevitable for him? He's going to make some plays, and what makes him so
Like
dangerous?
Micah and other great players, you want to know where they are to how to go play, and if you have a vulnerability in a spot, you want to make sure you can fortify that to a strength. So you don't just leave it to chance and see what happens. You want to make sure there's a plan to go into it. And so for teams like Green Bay, they've got a number of good players, and that makes it also more challenging when this one and that one over there. So when there's just one player to stop and say, okay, this is what we want to do, that's easier than when there's multiple people in different locations. So in my experience, the best of the best teams have had a number of players that were high-level hitters, and now this one gets too much attention, you leave this one open, he's gonna shoot the three and make you pay. And so you want to have, enough balance in how you do things to make sure that one player, doesn't get too much attention, but also enough that they don't wreck the game.
Jayden, after week one, after watching tape, what did you think?
I thought overall offensively, there were some plays, just close, Chick, and those are the ones that you don't get second chances in our game, but it shows that we need the timing, we need the execution, and that kind of speaks to September football a little bit. I want to make sure the how is right, and I loved his aggressiveness, that the ops were there. We didn't hit them all. We missed one to Terry, missed one to Debo, but I also know that it's all of us doing it, So one thing I've learned through him, this is as competitive a dude as you can get. And so a miss here or a miss there, that generally doesn't stay a miss here or a miss there.
The Packers have had the youngest roster in the league 3 years in a row or something, and obviously you guys have taken a different approach with more veterans. When you talk about building identity and culture, how important have those guys been? And then specific to a short week, how important is it to have veteran guys who've kind of been through this before?
Yeah, it's a good question. The building a team, there's not one size to fit all, for sure. But having excellent veteran players that really have high standards for how they operate, behave, perform, practice, of course that helps. You're trying to, put things in place to say this is the professional way that we want, and somebody doesn't look the other way when something didn't go well. So that happens, and that helps for sure. As far as in the games for this week, having been through a Thursday game, a routine, what works best, how much do you need, what's the right amount, the feedback from them can be very helpful. Most teams don't have entirely new game plans, on Thursday. It happens quickly. So what can carry over, what would we just cover in training camp just a few weeks ago. And that also helps the veteran player, their recall, the quickness in the system. Your first year in the system, I would say it's a little harder on the short weeks because you don't have a volume, you don't have a library, you don't have reps that you've banked together. And then as you gain more experience, I would say the people that have played some together, that's, if there was an advantage, I'd say that's where it leans towards.
Dan, what went into the decision with C-Rod to keep him down that week, and is that likely to be repeated?
Each game would be a little bit different. Chris has really, hit good marks. We've kind of just felt the room was really strong. This past week we had 6 receivers up and instead of 5, and so what's required for the game, and so that's kind of it's running back, it's tight end, it's D end, it's receiver. Like those are the ones that are a little fluid, but Chris has really hit the marks and on special teams as well.
And you mentioned turnover margin. You didn't turn the ball over, but you didn't create any either,
Correct.
And that was a thing last year a bit. How, you got 16 more games to create a bunch. How important is that?
It's so important, and we thought we'd had a chance on the one that Quan had. We had a foul on the play. Said, boy, that's a good one to get. There was one on the ground on one of Russ's scramble down by the 1 yard line. We didn't get that one, so I like that we're thinking about